I have 15 rules, and a few of them are never zoom when the camera is on speed. Never do a focus pull. Never show something that's asymmetric. It helps me finding the shot. My name is Ties Versteeg. I'm a cinematographer. I shoot mainly documentaries. And next to that, I do feature films and commercials. Documentaries are most of the time shot in foreign countries. It's been 1 year, 2019, I've been 6 months abroad. 2020, I was sitting at home. I'm very happy we can get started again. And next up is a feature film. Angle I quite like is the Pan American. I always say it's the American shot, but I recently heard it's called the Pan American. It's knee up, and I love the shot because you tell a little bit more than this medium, and you still have the hands and people can work within. But if you do it, give it some headspace. So you made your fair choice. It's not completely from your head to your toe, but just make it look like that and then tilt the camera up. That's where the Pan American comes in beautifully. When it comes to documentary, I always plan, I give myself and the director rules. So you have to choose very fast while shooting, right? So I think the best thing you can do is add a few rules to yourself and saying, okay, this is what I'm doing, but this is also what I'm not doing. So if that's in your brain memorized, you will go on kind of an autopilot when shooting documentaries. The last documentary is about food, actually the origin of food. And there's a scientist and there is a show host, if you can say it like that. And those two travel around the world. Sometimes they have a stand-up together, and I really want it to be that center, Wes Anderson, nothing else. It's just that center. So whenever they have a stand-up, it's always like that. Whenever there's a third person in there, we always go handheld on a 15 by 40 Cooke. So those type of rules help with the documentary. That having said, of course, there's always space for going the other way. Sometimes you just see something and you really want to shoot it. If it doesn't fit your style you already chosen, then okay, you can say don't shoot it. I would say, please go for it, because please have it, and then decide in the edit whether it's still your style or not. So when it comes to shots or framing, everybody knows their close-ups and their mediums and their wides, etc. Then you can choose whether you're on eye level, you're below, you're above. It says something about the character, right? When it comes through that, I always get back to the narrative. Who is who? And how do you want someone to introduce? The main character always comes from the back, entering a frame, and you can feel by the movement itself that we're going somewhere. And we're going somewhere is always most of the time, to the woman, to the main character. That's how, I don't know when, we invited to introduce people. A little bit from below most of the time, because we like to have this status kind of thing. And there are always narratively excuses to do it differently. And I think that is the beauty of what we do. We can always shift the camera to a different angle to give the feeling to the audience it's someone else. From Rude Awakening, the opening sequence is a sequence wherein our director, who is the main character, is going to work every day, over and over and over again. And so we have 35 shots of him doing the same thing every morning. So he wakes up, switches the alarm off, get out of bed, has his coffee, walks towards his work. So on every shot we make, we go 1 degrees more to a Dutch angle. So at the end we're at 45 degrees, and then when he comes towards the camera, he walks over a bridge. We lift up with him to a straight 0 degrees top shot. And I think that's where we explain the entire movie for the audience, how we deal with the Dutch angle. Because an opening shot as I said, is about the narrative. But when it comes to scenery, you want to fly over and be wide. It's most of the heroistic movies is flying over a sea or water and coming up to the city just to tell us where we are. That's the opening shot. That's the classic one. I think it has a reason. I never studied this, why we do this, but we have the feeling of here we go. I like to enter, I'm entering the movies. It's not per se that we're saying we need this shot because we really need to tell New York is near the waters. But I think it's more for the audience to walk in and feel comfortable, sit back and here we go. This is your movie we're gonna watch. Other than that, I think it's very necessary that you always guide your audience, especially in feature films. Where are we? We're not here, we are here for a reason. And we chose this city for a reason because it means something to the character or to the story. So you always want to open up with a wide shot of where we are. When it comes to closing shots, I think it depends again on also the genre. But let's say it's a romantic movie, you want to fall in tears, so you want to make it big. You want to be with the character, but feel the atmosphere and the environment in the same shot as well. This is where it comes to photography, I think. You want to tell the story in one shot and one shot only. Although you completely wrapped it out for the last 8 minutes already, it's just that one shot you really want to go for. When it comes to romantic versus thriller or something else, again, most of the time we end on a feel-good, so you still have the scenery that you really love to see. When it comes to romantic movies, I love to refer to, what is the movie with Brad Pitt, where he's the devil, Meet Joe Black. When he walks over the bridge and he comes back, because it's introduced halfway already, you know what is coming and you know what it's about, and that's where most of the time people start crying. I'm now in pre-production of a movie, it's a teenage movie, about a girl who really wants to have a horse and she finds one and she's going on an adventure with the horse, and we know already the ending shot is a shot that we use halfway in the film as well. It's where the horse jumps over the water and she can finally make it. I'm not gonna tell you whether she can or can't make it halfway, but that's something you want to end up, she given it everything and she made it, and either you freeze it halfway or whatever, but you really want to have that feel-good moment for the audience. So that's the only shot I already know for sure. I don't know what kind of lenses we're gonna use, I don't know what camera we're gonna use, but this shot we already know. When it comes to lighting, again, of course, narrative. Also, who's the protagonist, who's the antagonist. Lighting is very, very specific to me, and it's always, I have long chats with the gaffer. I prefer him to be at Arrakis and start from there. Normally, I learned from the same guy, Theo van der Zande. It doesn't matter where the direction comes from, as long as it feels good and right in the frame. And you don't even have to have a continuous lighting always coming from the same side. It's not necessary, as long as it doesn't distract. Same like focus pulls. There's one thing I don't do. I never switch a focus to the background or to the foreground, unless it's very narratively needed. But still, I prefer a different shot instead of a focus pull. Coming back to light, whatever color you think is needed or whatever direction you think is needed, go for it. In this house, as you might tell, here are the windows and there's no window. But if you really want to hit this extra light on the back of my head, then please put a window imaginarily over there and hit it. You're allowed to do it because you've never seen this house. So if that makes this image more beautiful, then go for it. Well, when it comes to very specific colors like blue, green, yellow, I think it's a style choice. Although I've been a huge fan for a long time of the Liberty Green, I always use it as the light coming from the back. I don't use it that much anymore. I know Theo van der Sande uses Steel Blue. Always uses Steel Blue. I think it's his middle name. So you can either say, let's make a movie a certain color. But you can also say, let me be, as a cinematographer, let me use one type of color that I always use so people start recognizing your work. Those are two different things, and I think I started with the Liberty Green, and I now think that I don't need to use a specific color anymore, because recently, I think 2 years ago, I shot a music video for Rhythm Temptation, and there we really needed the color red and orange to amplify maybe the flames that are in the background. On the other side there was the police, and there I could use again my Liberty Green. Although you would normally go for blue, this is where I added Liberty Green again to emphasize the police. So there were two different stages in one room, and you can immediately tell by the color where you are in the room. And I think that really helps in the storyline. When it comes to direction, most of the time we're learned to have let it come from three sides. And I remember, and I remembered it wrong, but that became my thing. I remember that was the tongue. I don't know if that's even in English the same word, but you use 180 degrees. The light comes from this angle, and it comes from the opposite side as well. And then you fill it in. But then I went to school back again, and I recognized that it's the other way around. It comes from this angle, and then you have the counter from the same angle, but on the 90 degrees on that side, and then you fill it in. I stick to this one. I just love it more. I can't help it. I just love to have this black shadow coming here and that you fill in. But if you want to learn it, go for this side, fill it in from here, and you're done. So when it comes to focus, of course you can turn down your aperture. I think please tell your story in one frame. I always refer to photography. That's also why I never pull focus in one shot. So in this case, the focus is on me. There's nothing distracting, of course, at this moment in the background. If there was something distracting and it was moving in the background and it catches the eye of the audience, you want to have an extra shot of what's going on in the background. And that's where you either make a different shot or you shift focus. So when it comes to putting the camera in a certain spot, most of the time I go by feeling. But the feeling is always about the background and never the foreground. So I never line up for the actor, but I line up for what I want to say in the background, because I know the actor is coming in anyhow. And that's also where you choose your lenses. Are you going wide? Are you going close? Are you 85mm or 35 or even a 20, 15? That's all up to you. But it's mainly your background is telling you what you're doing. The foreground, to me, never matters, because it's always an actor or an actress or a candle. So that's basically it. Again, that's because the script is really asking for it. Sometimes you just immediately have the feeling this is something that I have to be with. I have to be with this character, and I want the audience to have the same feeling as the character has, or as his best friend. That's when you go handheld and be with him in the battlefield kind of feeling. For this new movie about the horses, I know already it's all on sticks, dollies, and maybe there's a Steadicam involved. But and there is, of course, with the horses, we have to use all the grip needed. But I know I will never be handheld, because it feels more, it's gonna flow more naturally when it's on sticks or in jibs and cranes. Yeah, I use the black satins a lot. Tiffin came up with the black satin, I don't know when, but I found them out and I checked them. I was in love. It's softening the skin tones, but it's not giving this highlight glow around the person, but it's really softening the lenses. Nowadays the lenses are quite harsh, especially now with the LF, large format sensors. It seems like, yeah, it feels, I'm sorry to say, but it feels like plastic sometimes. So I really want to have filters in front of the lens to soften it out, to make it, yeah, so you can feel the film instead of looking at an image that's way too sharp. The more positive a movie is, the more you choose high-key lighting. You want to create beauty when it's positive, and I like to go very dark when it's negative. I love Tim Burton for everything he's done in his career by showing us how dark images really help a character to move forward in the narrative. So I would always refer to the big opposites, and if possible I would refer to Alice in Wonderland, because that's where all the positivity and the negativity comes together. So for me that's the biggest inspiration when it comes to this matter. Other than that, I can't really give you a clear answer going very bright or very dark, or make the shadow even harsher, or yeah, please do go for it, but I think it's quite obvious to do. I always apply rules to what I'm doing, so either you're on sticks in a certain framing, you can apply rules to all your films, and that's what I do. So in this specific case, I told you about that I would never zoom during a conversation. I would never use a focus pull. I would always try and seek for the sun. So I never tend to be different. I don't want to do anything different, because I think what we've done over the last couple of 100 years, or the last 100 years, is phenomenal, and I don't want to be different. But what I always try to seek for is apply rules within my own cinematography. So what I always do in every documentary and every feature film is give myself limitations of what I'm doing. And for example, in a documentary I'm shooting at the moment, I have 15 rules, and a few of them are: never zoom when the camera is on speed, never do a focus pull, never show something that's asymmetric. Well, what are the other rules? There are so many, but it helps me finding the shot. And I think maybe the best example is Nu en Zon. It's one of my first commercials I've ever shot. I directed it myself, and because it's about the sun, the sun was one rule, needs to be in every frame. Everything is shot on long lenses. Everything is handheld. I'm near the characters. There's always a character in the shot, and there needs to be joy, and everything is on 100 frames a second. Those type of rules might help you creating your own style, but I always choose to have a style for one specific job. So now it's Nu en Zon. Next time it's a feature film, the other time it's a documentary. I love to give myself limitations. Since 2015 I started working with Panasonic Varicam 35. I did a masterclass in LA where I met Theo van der Sande. He's a Dutch guy, shot lots of feature films in the States. He's a member of the ASC, and he showed me the Panasonic Varicam. That's a camera people in the States know. Most of the Netflix series are shot on either a Varicam or RED, before Arri came up with the LF. As we all know, it was not 4K, so Arri was out. And I love the camera because it's kind of a documentary kind of camera. You can just put it on your shoulder, let it loose, and it's in balance. And for me, that's most of the time shooting handheld. I just like balance. And there's another camera that I really love, and that's the Alexa Studio, because it still has the butterfly in front. It has the mirror. And just because of I hate rolling shutters because of their movements, and it's always, well, as I'm doing this now, you'll see it. So most of the time I'm shooting with those two cameras. Then again, it's about what's the narrative, right? So what is the film about, and where do we really need it? Is the close-up. I really prefer to have cameras that don't have the rolling shutter. Well, of course, as we know, there are lots of lenses in the world, and I haven't used them all. I checked most of them, but still not all of them. There are a few lenses that I really love working with. It's the Coox. It has a certain feel to it. It's not crisp, it's not sharp. It has a beautiful bokeh, it has a beautiful roll-off. But that same comes with one of my favorite lenses, I think, is the Summilux C. by Lights. It's kind of the Master Prime, but softer in a way. It's sharp on the eyes, and whatever needs to be sharp is there. But the roll-off of the Summilux is, I think, phenomenal. I used, of course, all of them. I used the Cooke anamorphics recently on a documentary. It's a documentary called Rude Awakening. It's not finished yet. It will come out somewhere later this year, might be next year even. We don't know, because we have 10 or 8 more shooting days to go. It's a documentary about self-awareness, self-reflection. And I met the director in a club. It's a strange story, but I met him there. We had a kind of click. We had a chat about where films should go to, where it comes from and where it should go to. And we drank way too much. And after a while I said, maybe I need your phone number. I'll call you tomorrow. Let's finish this conversation because it's too beautiful. And he said, well, I'm away, I'm going to the States for a documentary, etc. Then he said he fired the other cinematographer, and he wanted to see if I can come along on the documentary. And I asked him what it's about, and he said the documentary was about self-reflection, but they didn't want to have any finger pointing in there. And they also want to have this alienating kind of feel to it. So that's where I came up with the anamorphic, and he immediately said, yes, and, right? So he was saying, yes, and then we can do this and that and such and so. And this is where I got enthusiastic, of course. A director saying yes to an idea is always a plus. So then we came up with the Dutch angle to not telling, to not telling the truth. It's always nice to have this slightly Dutch angled view, and also to tell the audience something is off. And so I think 20% of the documentary is slightly off. Coming back to lenses, this is where we got the Cooke's anamorphic in. And later on we tried the Master anamorphics, but we're back to Cooke, and especially now because they're having the new Cooke anamorphics on a full frame. So we will finish this documentary on the full frames anamorphics by Cooke. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something from it. And if you want to check out my work, please go to Instagram and find me on Ties Versteeg. And have a lovely day.